So welcome to Matfield Village Green. I'm Richard Groves. I'm going to talk to you about the Matfield Pond restoration. So let's go through how it all started. So I was on the Parish Council, I was looking after the green, the village hall, on the planning committee. Now this pond has been in need of restoration for some time, and I was really passionate about making it the best it can be. So in the end, what happened was the council had quite a few quotes. I had a look at them, some of them were very high. And I decided to donate 50% of the work. So I think we've got JS Fisheries doing 50% at 6.5k, and I'm going to donate 6.5k of my own resource to making this pond the best it can be. So from some of the research and talking to locals, Matfield Pond we feel was used as a base for military vehicles to come in and be washed during the war. I don't know if that's correct. There's probably people out there who probably can correct me, historians, etc. But that's what I found out. And you can see there's a rise up out the pond. So obviously vehicles would come in here, be washed and come back out. And that does seem logical with the positioning and that of the pond. Now, lots of issues with this pond. Now, there was an invasive fish that somehow got in the pond, but obviously being a village pond, you will get people putting fish in, whether it's koi, whether it's goldfish. People move home, they put stuff in. Unfortunately, we got one of the first Perusian carp, which has to be eradicated in the UK because it takes over. And what I mean take over is it would just be the only source of fish in here, because it would just reproduce, and most of the other fish would go. So that was the problem. Now, when I was on the council doing this project, it was a very, very difficult one, because obviously I love fish, I love ponds, and I don't really want to kill things. So the EA made the decision that we needed to eradicate everything in the pond, including the bogbean weed that was there as well. All the fish had to go, which was a bit of a disappointment, but we're led by the EA and their advice. So we had that all planned, got to the day of the netting, and they said, oh, just so you know, you've got to leave it empty. So we had to cancel that. We then went back, done the netting, got the fish, but there were millions of these carp. We are talking like millions, the most the EA had ever seen, the most Jack, who was doing the netting, had ever seen. So you can imagine then, it's 3 o'clock on a Friday, we've got to make decisions, and they said about lime in the lake, which is what I said all along. But anyway, we had to get hydrated lime in the next day, put that all in the pond, and what that does is it basically would kill everything in the pond. And it's what you use to sterilise a pond or a lake before you put fish and that back in. So we done that, got that all in, all done. Then I went to the council with a proposal, which they accepted, which we spoke about earlier, and then we had to get on and try and make this the best pond it can be. So let's go through the works and planning. So at night, I was just going through lots of plans on this, drawing it, showing the council, drawing it again, showing the council. But it's a very interesting project because you have to do it bit by bit. We've obviously got to work with the silt, butt it up against the sides, let it dry, then do some more. Now, the problem is the pond is very shallow, and obviously with the amount of silt it had, that affects the oxygen levels in the pond, which then was killing the fish, and there's some pictures of that. I then looked back at all the archives of the pond and the fish dying and different bits and thought, how can we do this without costing the parish council a fortune, and probably yourselves if you're part of the parish? So I thought, right, I'm going to do what I've done at several lakes. I own 8 lakes myself all round, Matfield, Erridge, Hull Tide, different lakes. So I've done quite a few of these, and I thought what we're going to do, we're going to use the silt, not take it away, which would have cost a fortune, use it to our advantage and make some lovely areas. So the first thing we done was put everything up against the sides, which you can see. We pushed it up against the island. We created a huge amount more depth. It actually went much better than I thought. I didn't think we'd be able to do that without moving some of the silt. It's also bigger down the far end, but we've made it a little bit smaller here. But this was all covered in bogbean over this side. The next plan was, how do we make it super pretty and super nice? So we've ordered like 100 metres of the best reeds and flower plants around. So they're going to go in, they're going to go along the sides. If you see here, it looks like mud, which it is, but this will all be reeded, wildflower seed along, and then grass on the top. So it's going to look fantastic. Across here to the other side, What I'm thinking there is having wildflower seed and grass, and again reeding it all the way round to the other set of reeds. If we then come round to the wall, that was leaking, was very, very poor. So we filled in all the holes and all the gaps and put in some extra drainage to pick up more water to come back in. So that looks now as good as it can be. And we just pushed the silt up against it just to make sure we got more of a barrier. Now we've got to remember this is a village pond, so we can't have it hugely deep, otherwise you have to have different signs and everything else. And the main thing is to get the wildlife correct. Now, what reeds do is they cleanse the water. So the more reeds we have, the more we're cleansing that water all the time, keeping that water quality. And then we're going to add some lilies round the second island, reed round this island, and just make it like a wildlife haven here. Obviously we had lovely ducks and that here. Some of them are down at my lakes now. They're going to fly back. But we've got the opportunity to make something exceptional for the village. So the future of the pond is obviously, let's get the reeds in, get all these grass banks looking lovely, get the wildflower seed in, protect this island and this silt with more reeds, put some lovely lilies. I've got some whites, some yellows. Hopefully this is going to protect this wall a lot more by pushing this silt up. I mean, we've had the best weather, haven't we, for it? It couldn't have been any better. It's like we planned it. Now, it's a lot deeper in here, which is going to make a big difference, especially through there. I'm not sure how much more deeper it is, but it's got to be at least 18 inches, 2 feet deeper. This is actually the bottom, so we can't go any deeper with this without really moving a lot of soil and then relining with clay. I've really enjoyed the project. I think it's been fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the machines and all the work that we're doing. The future is more around sustaining something like this. Obviously when you have a green, you mow it and you do all these bits and you've got cricket there and all that, but the pond has still got to have management. You've still got to understand the pond and look after it. So I have put in like an annual plan for the council to have a look at and see if you wanted to reintroduce fish and you wanted to do stuff, these are the things that you need to do every year, like, you know, removing line, chalk every year. You need to dye this. We need to dye this pond light straight away as soon as it's full of water, because what we don't want, when you do this, you create a lot of weed, and that's the last thing we want coming up in here. So it's just an annual plan. Otherwise, I'm, you know, really happy with the project. I think it's been brilliant, and you know, I thank the council so much for letting me be involved and donating to doing this. I mean, what else do you do with money? I mean, I can drive past, and if I see someone here enjoying it, fantastic for me and fantastic for everyone in the village. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this update. I'm going to do a part 2 alongside it actually being finished, and hopefully in the spring seeing all the reeds and everything done, and then bringing you another video.